So first off, Peter Mascondas is the president and CEO and board of directors president of Nicholas & Company. Peter graduated from the University of Utah with a BA in economics with a minor in Greek. Even prior to that, Peter began his career at Nicholas & Company at 12 years old. He has worked his way through nearly every department in the organization: distribution sales representative, district sales manager, national account representative, and purchasing category manager, as well as operations and transportation, and then finally president in 2003. Peter has received many distinguished honors and positions, including the Westminster College Foundation board member, IFDA board member, Independent Marketing Alliance board member, Marcon board member, DMA board member, and member of the Young Presidents Organization, or YPO. And then Peter also sits on the boards of the Governor's Office of Economic Development and the Utah Sports Commission. Peter was recently honored with a Living Legacy Award by the Boys and Girls Club of Utah. And he has been named a trailblazer and one of the 40 under 40 by Utah Business Magazine. Nicole Mascondas, which is, trust me, his better half, currently serves as a co-CEO of Nicholas & Company. Nicole graduated from the University of Utah with a BS in Behavioral Science and Health and received a master's degree in Strategic Communication and Leadership from Seton Hall University. Prior to her tenure at Nicholas & Company, she was the marketing and program director for Rocky Mountain Gymnastics, and she worked with Coca-Cola USA to market elite gymnastics competitions throughout the country. She began her career at Nicholas & Company as a human resources assistant and worked up through the departments to become the VP of HR for 7 years, followed by leading in a senior vice president role for 12 years. Current community service and board memberships include member of Nicholas & Company Board of Directors, member of Wells Fargo's Women's Advisory Board, member of the Ballet West, member of Board of Directors, and chair of the HR Committee. She's also a UMFA board member, member of the Employees Council Board of Directors, and the YPO Utah chapter member, as well as the American Cancer Society Gala Committee member. Nicole has provided many other contributions of her time and talents in a variety of service organizations. Some noteworthy achievements include receiving the Utah Business Magazine's 30 Women to Watch, Salt Lake City Chamber's Pathfinders Award, and she's been a former member of the USA National and University of Utah gymnastics team. And I have on good authority that Nicole was a great gymnast, and I know for a fact that she spent many hours in a Midvale gym. My wife told me that. And just a little bit about Nicholas & Company. Nicholas & Company began in 1939 and is currently into the third generation of family leadership. The company delivers high-quality products and service in the food service industry to many people throughout the 6-state region, where they provide access to over 10,000 products. Their Greek heritage runs deep into the company and is a driving force in how they view and operate their business. They are passionate about food, they are passionate about family, and they are passionate about the community. And UVU has been a direct beneficiary of all that passion for a number of years and in a number of ways. And so we appreciate Peter and Nicole Mascondas and look forward to hearing from them today. So I will now turn the time over to President Holland, who has an award he'd like to present.
Would you please join me? The Excellence in Business Ethics Award is annually presented by the UVU President and Board of the Center for the Study of Ethics to individuals who display exemplary ethics, both professionally and personally. Exemplary ethics demonstrates a sustained commitment to understanding the necessity of integrity and humanity in business pursuits. These individuals demonstrate strengthening business ethics through fiscal responsibility, leadership, civic activity, and personal example. Peter and Nicole Mascondas, we believe that you exemplify the traits attained by individuals who practice excellence in business ethics. On behalf of Utah Valley University, the students, the faculty, the administration, the boards, and the surrounding community, we present you with this award.
Wow, it's our honor. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful. Oh, my goodness. Geez, thank you.
Wow.
It's too much. Oh, my goodness. This is incredible.
They're matching vases.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah,
Wow.
pottery made by one of our faculty.
Oh, fabulous. Wow.
So you'll
my
each
gosh.
have one.
Thank you
Oh,
very
you're
much.
so kind. We're honored. Thank you very much. Yes.
Let's just step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Let's kind of have you come over here together and we'll take
Yes.
a
Okay.
photo right here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
President there. Single heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And to our team, nice job.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very kind.
Go down where we can
Okay.
get you and listen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Put this right here.
Feel free to roam or whatever.
Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I have to say it's quite an honor. President Holland, Mrs. Englehart, staff, assistant deans, students, and my team that's here, and my lovely wife, who's the support of my life and a wonderful wife and wonderful mother. So I appreciate that support, and she works with me by my side every day, so that's wonderful. And to everybody, UVU, well done. Congratulations for what you're doing, your accomplishments, and your future successes. What I want to talk to you about today is a story, a pretty amazing story of my grandfather who started a company 75 years ago that couldn't speak any English, came here, 17 years old, and took him 32 days by steerage in a boat from Crete, Greece, it's very far away, to the port of Athens, and then on to Ellis Island, and 2 weeks from there in a train to find his cousin at Kennecott Copper with a sign on his back that said Utah. And his cousin used to tell him, Nicholas, you need to get out of Greece. There's not an opportunity there back there. It was an impoverished country. It didn't have much to offer. And he finally convinced him to take that journey. Can you imagine now what a risk it would be for yourself to go to a country you have no idea? You don't know anything about it. You can't speak the language. And you're going there completely blinded. So it was amazing that he found his cousin and started in the mine. And I'm going to show you a video. And then I'm going to get into the way the whole company started and the family, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about my journey, and then Nicole's going to talk to you about our culture and our passions and what ethics is about and our journey as a team. So I'm going to have the video queued up, please. My grandfather came from the island of Crete, Greece, which is a long ways away. He came by actually boat, 32 days, and then came through Ellis Island. He actually had a cousin that lived in Salt Lake City and worked in the Kennecott copper mines, and that's how he ended up coming here. And then ended up getting into the bakery business and developing his own route. And if you know the bakery business, they basically sell a route to you. So you go in the morning, pick up your panini breads, your rolls, your things like this, and he'd deliver. Well, during Orthodox Easter, he would go down and usually pick up troops coming into Salt Lake City that had family and bring them back to the house, and he would put them up for the night. In doing this, he befriended some of the conductors, and they would be selling these fruits and vegetables coming off the train. The products that would eventually fall off the trains or would be dented, they would just discard. And when he talked to these conductors, he'd ask them, what are you doing with these? Well, nothing, Nicholas, we're just going to throw them away. Give it to me, let me take them off your hands and I can do something with them. So they didn't think anything of it, and he'd go back home and soak the labels off and basically put his own label on and go back to the restaurants on his bread route. And go up and say, look, Tony, I'm selling you some rolls here and some baguettes and some pastry. And by the way, I have some peaches and some pears. Well, what's wrong with nothing? There's some, dent on a can or whatever. And he would sell them to him for 75 cents on the dollar. And started building this up. And eventually he left the bakery business and built on 4th South, the back of his house, a little warehouse. He was actually the first person to get a commercial business license on 4th South. And started adding on to his home, and then he outgrew the home and then started as a warehouse, and then 1 truck, 3 trucks, 10 trucks. So we've come from the humble beginnings, and almost 70 years in business now. I'm 3rd generation, and I've been very blessed by working my way up through the company. We employ over 500 employees now, and we're just wanting to make a difference out there. And that's how Nicholas and Company came to be. So, who knew 75 years ago we would be here? And I am very blessed to be the 3rd generation. And if you're in economics, and my father would also tell you that I have about a 10% chance of making it continue to go to the next one. But I have such a great team and such a great support from my wife and 2 beautiful children that they have to earn to come in to the company as well. But with that kind of support, we cannot fail. And it's important as we got on our journey, what we're representative. And my grandfather used to say, we can learn from the Egyptians that you can't take anything with you. But what we can do is take our good reputation and our name, and that's all we have. So getting back to the history of Nicholas and Company, as the video talked about my grandfather coming here, and let me tell you how he got into Nicholas and Company and how he started that. So I told you at 17 years old, he finally gets to Salt Lake City. He has a sign on his back. He finally points to Kennecott Copper. He gets a lift up there and meets his cousin. He's introduced to the owner of Kennecott Copper. Imagine a gentleman who's 4'9", 100 pounds wet. They give him an air jack. It's 120 pounds. So he's there about 2 weeks. He's living with his cousin. And he comes home. He goes, look, look, look. He goes, I received this pink form. I had a raise. He goes, no, you fool. In America, that's a pink slip. He just fired you. They fired my grandfather, and he had to make a determination whether to go back to Greece or stay, and perseverance set in, and he says, I'm going to stay here. America is giving me the opportunity. So he did some various jobs, but the one job that he really liked was this bread route, and at that time you had to buy your bread route. So he would earn it on loan, and then you'd pay back the owner. And as in the video, what would happen is he'd go down to the Rio Grande and Union Pacific buildings, or railroad stations, and pick up the grains and the flour. And he befriended the conductor who would be bringing the canned goods off from what is Fruit Heights, where it got its name. There were 13 family canneries. Unfortunately, none of them exist anymore. But they would have the pears and peaches that would come off the farms there, and they would can them and send them down into Salt Lake City. And so he would get these canned goods that would be discarded, because any of the canned goods that fell off, or they'd come down the ramps and fall off, they'd discard and throw away. So Nicholas said to them, well, let me take them off your hands. So he'd go home, he would soak those labels off, wrap them, put his own label on there, and then he'd show up to on his bakery route to one of the owners of the bakeries or the pastry and say, hey, Bob, John, I've got your paninis and your bocce rolls. And by the way, I've got these peaches and pears. Now, Nicholas, what are you doing with this? And he goes, well, I have them. How much you want for them? 75 cents on the dollar. That started Nicholas and Company. As the video's talked about, on 4th South, and my father used to tell me this, he grew up there. They were the first to get the commercial business license on 4th South in Salt Lake City. And my grandfather used to say, someday, Billy, my dad's name's Bill, you're going to be able to buy anything from tires to real estate to restaurants will be down here. And if you look at 4th State now, 4th South, it's an amazing street. And so he was able to get the first business commercial license, and they ended up adding on to the back of the house and making it a warehouse. So what ended up happening is Nicholas started growing his business, and he ended up meeting my grandmother. She came over from Athens. She was an orphan, and she made it all the way over in later years. But when they got married, the Greek Orthodox Church downtown wasn't even built. They were actually married in a taverna, which is a tavern or a coffee bar in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then later they were benefactors of building the Greek Orthodox Church, and she started the first Sunday school. And they continued to have their business, and they had 4 beautiful children, 2 boys, 2 girls. At one time they were all in the family business, but eventually they ended up going on and becoming different careers, or ended up getting out of the business and raising families. But there's one person that stayed in the business, was my father, and he was very dedicated to the business. You know, he put himself through school. He ended up getting an MBA at Westminster, and ended up growing the business, because my grandfather really never wanted it to be as big as it was. He just wanted it to keep his kids out of trouble, right? And help them grow. And so as my father decided to make that step and jump in with both feet, he made the business and committed it. And, you know, huge risk on your shoulders, because it's all weighing on you. Mary's a beautiful woman from Carbon County, Utah. My mother, Elise, she came into the company and started the HR department. And they started growing that business together. And ironically, like Nicole and I, they actually, offices are right next to each other, and she'll probably talk about it, but it was planned by me. She didn't really like it. I don't think she still likes it, but we get along very well. So they grew that business and ended up having 2 wonderful children, myself and my sister. My sister had a brief stint in the company, but really she was, you know, going to focus on school and went a different path. I stayed in the company. I enjoyed the company. I started at 12 years old, and I started picking up nails out in the yard, put them in a cup, and I would go and rebuild the pallets out in the warehouse, in the back of the warehouse, and my dad would give me $2 a pallet. And that started my career. As I grew up through the company, as Brad said, you know, I did all the facets of the company. And when it came to college, it was that time when I came to my father and said, you know, I want to further my career and grow, and I want to follow your footsteps. You went to Westminster. I'm going to go there too. And he says, that's great. And I said, well, okay, well, here's the cost. I need you to pay for it. And he goes, I'm not paying for it. Your grandfather, or papu, and grandpa means Greek, didn't pay for me. I'm not paying for you. But I'm giving you an opportunity in a career and a job. So stick it out. Okay. So that's what I did. And I worked, and it's, you know, and my father was a tough, you know, European father, very fair but firm. At 16 and 18 and 21, he asked me, do you still enjoy doing what you do? And I did. I loved it. So I ended up growing up through the company, and I had 12 years vested in the company, and I had completed all the operations and really the back of the house, as we call in our industry, business. Then I went to him and said, Dad, I want to talk to you about a career change. And he goes, what's that? And I said, I want to go into sales. Sitting behind his desk, my mother's next door. Why do you want to go that? I think it was a little bit more explicit, but for the sake of the ladies in the room. I said, because I want to grow with my peers, and I'm tired of you capping my salary at $7.50, which I still have the payroll stub for. He says, okay, Mr. Big Shot, that's the way you want to do it? Great. You can start brand new. And I said, well, Dad, I have 12 years vested, all my 401k insurance. He goes, brand new. You can go 100% commission into sales, and if you don't make it, don't come crying back to Daddy, because you're done. Oh my gosh. Tears are rolling down my eyes. I walk into Mom's office. She goes, looks up, she goes, he's your father. I slept in my cubicle. I had my laptop, you know, where I'm printing out order guides. Thank goodness I was successful at it. I did that for about 3.5 years. And it was a real wonderful opportunity, and I continued to grow. And then as I grew up through the organization, I ended up becoming management. And ironically, Nicole came to the company and started as a file clerk, and then ended up following my mother's career in HR. Nicole actually became an executive before I did, because I was out selling and she was kind of going up the corporate ladder. And so it was interesting to be in the back of the house or go through sales and see the person that you're dating and then further end up having as my wife as an executive. So then Nicholas and Company went through a period of trial and tribulation, if you will, and my father kind of disengaged himself and brought in some people that for the first part of the years did a very good job. And then I would say that the company probably outgrew them. But unfortunately, there was some turbulence between team members at that level and kind of jockeying for my father's position. And what resulted was that the company was going backwards. And I actually had team members come up to me and said, "Peter, can't you see what's going on?" And I said, "Yes, I can, but I can't do anything about it because my father still has controlling reign." So I'll never forget, as time went on, the turmoil got worse. And Nicole's going to talk about ethics. And there were some ethical problems within these execs. And finally, my mother said to my dad, "It's time for a change. You have got to put Peter in as president." "Well, he's not ready." "He is, or we won't have a company left." So they put me in. I immediately started going and looking at from the tactical visions, from bottom up, top down, looked at all the people we had, removing people, building a team, putting the right seat on the bus, as Jim Collins says, in Good to Great, finding their strengths, and we were on our way. And it was a strain, but I will say we were very successful in getting there. And with that, Nicole was there all the way through it. She was a linchpin, really, between our lending associations and people we had relationships to make this thing work. We exited those people out. We brought in our team. My dad, was there, but he says, "Son, it's going to be your time now." And, my father is never short for advice. But I loved it. But there are times when he and I would disagree. But he would still say, "Okay, well, that's what you want to do. I'll support it." And it was wonderful to have that. It was also wonderful to have my mother, who now retired, but was still there, and to have my wife by my side. And she did an amazing job of harnessing the energy of our good team members and creating some new programs within the company that still exist to this day. So that led us to go on to this generation and third generation. And I said that I have fourth. I have a son, Nicholas, who's 13, and I have a daughter, Alexandra, who's 11. Right now, it looks like my daughter will be the CEO of the company. But they have to work outside the company for a couple of years. They have to get an MBA to be an executive. There is no free lunch, as my father used to remind me of that. And they have to earn it. And they will be interviewed by executives to see if they qualify. And it's important because, as my executives challenge me, is what's the legacy? What's your exit strategy? And what's going to be left behind? And so that's very important, and we're very cognizant of that. And we talk about it all the time. So as time went on, Nicholas and Company took some big steps. My dad said, "You know what, it's time to move on, transfer the estate, set up all your taxation, all the things that go on, and it's now you and Nicole's turn to move on in the company." And what we're very excited about is we just broke ground and we're getting up and running a brand new facility in Las Vegas, Nevada, which we're extremely excited. And so that's something that we are very, very proud of. And my dad would say that, "I'm very proud of you, but understand that you have a huge responsibility. You have a commitment not only to your family, but over 600 team members that come and work every day. And more importantly, that customers out there have a choice. And you need to earn their first right of refusal, their respect. Take care of them. Be consistent. At the end of the day, you have a reputation to keep. And that's the only thing you can take to the grave." So I'm going to have Nicole come up, and she's going to talk about the passion and a bit of ethics and things that we went through as well. But as you students are in here, the trials and tribulations that, yes, you will go through, but the positive energy and what you can do is amazing. As you can see, from a gentleman that was 4'9", 100 pounds wet, couldn't speak any English, 17 years old, clear back in the day, to where we are now. We'll end up probably the 10th largest food distributor in the country, if not the world, and still be privately held. So I'm honored. I'm honored for the award. Nicole and I are both honored for the award. We appreciate it, and continue to eat out as much as possible. And thank you very much. God bless.
So I would also like to thank everybody here at Utah Valley University for such a warm welcome, for inviting us to come here and be able to share our story with you. I had the pleasure of speaking to Elaine Engelhardt this morning, and as I told her, Peter and I generally try to kind of shy away from these kinds of events where we're in the spotlight. Generally, it's because there's spotlight on our organization, which of course we're proud of, but we know that it's not about us. The success of our organization is all about our team members. We don't do this alone, and so we generally kind of try to stay out of off the radar. But this award is particularly meaningful to us, and the reason that it is because integrity is one of our core values, and certainly something that we aspire every day to just be better human beings, better leaders, better parents, better citizens, better members of the community. And so to be able to get recognized for ethics in business is just very humbling. Elaine mentioned to me that this is the only award for business ethics in the state still, 11 years and running. So I commend Utah Valley University for understanding the importance of ethics in the business. It's, you know, in this day and age when you see all kinds of business scandal permeating the news, we are very, very proud to stand in stark contrast. And so this award is very, very meaningful and, as I said, humbling. But rest assured, receiving this acknowledgement for sure raises the stakes for us and makes it so that we have a lot more accountability to walk the talk. And we actually appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do that. So how many people here have seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Show of hands? Almost everybody. Okay. So you probably remember the movie was full of one-liners and just a hilarious tale. There was the Thea in the story, one of the aunts, who actually proudly says, "Whoppa!" She's about to go onto the dance floor. So we're not going to go onto the dance floor here, but hopefully you're getting an experience about the Greeks, you know, hearing our story. You will have an experience today. So I'd like everybody to sort of get in the Greek mood. On a count of 3, I want everybody to do a big "Whoppa!" And we have some team members here today, so I fully expect that our team members are going to be the loudest because you guys are professionals, right? Okay, so on the count of 3, everybody, 1, 2, 3. Opa! Okay, very good. So opa is a word or a pronouncement of celebration, the celebration of life itself. And, you know, Greeks traditionally have a reputation for loving life. You might hear Greeks say opa when they're in cheers or in celebration. Sometimes you'll hear Greeks say opa if something is broken, a plate is broken, a glass is broken. And it's not that in celebration that the plate is broken or that the glass is broken, unless you're Peter, who sees it as an opportunity to sell more china. But it's a recognition that it's not, what's not important is that the plate or the glass is broken. What's important is life itself and understanding the meaning of life itself and how important that is. So I'm sure you didn't think you were going to be here today learning all about Greek vocabulary, but in addition to talking about opa and its origin, I'm going to talk to you about a lesser known Greek word called philotimo. And before I share with you the definition of this word, I'm going to try to set a little bit of context so you understand why this word has come to have such importance in our personal lives, but also within our organization. So Peter mentioned that about 20 years ago I started at Nicholas & Company. We actually met in college, our junior year of college, and coming to work at Nicholas & Company was not an easy decision because first and foremost it was a family business. It was a very small family business at the time. We were located underneath the viaduct. We were landlocked. We had many different warehouses and space, and of about the 47 or 48 team members that we had at the time, I think 10 of them were family members, including my soon-to-be in-laws. And so it was a decision that we, again, didn't come upon lightly. Peter and I said, you know, this is either going to be really, really good or it's going to be really, really bad, and probably nothing in between. Luckily for us, my mother and father-in-law embraced having me come into the organization. They welcomed me, they showed me the ropes, and it has been a wonderful experience. So 20 years ago, as I mentioned, under the viaduct, a different world than the Nicholas & Company that we know today. We were still growing the business in the second generation of leadership with my father-in-law. We did not have great tools, great resources, great pay. And so what we at the time started realizing and started having family discussions about is, how are we going to keep people? How are we going to retain people? How are we going to recruit people if we don't have the best of the facilities and the best of equipment and resources and pay and benefits and all of that? About that time, we started seeing that Nicholas & Company was sort of an entry point for team members. They would come and they would be able to kind of get on board with Nicholas & Company, get a little bit of training and experience, and then leave us for the greener pastures of corporate America, where they assuredly would get better pay, better benefits, better tools, etc. And we had many a night with the family where we had discussions about how are we going to change, what are we going to do? Are we going to be a casualty? Are we going to make it to the third generation? What can we do? And so at that time, we were very deliberate about the fact that the only thing that we could do was be ourselves, be us. The one and only thing that we could do to offer to our team members was that authenticity, being ourselves, really caring about our team members, caring about them and their whole selves, their families, understanding what they needed, asking what they needed, and then trying to make sure that we created a great environment, one in which the team members knew that we cared about them, knew that they weren't just a name, and creating this environment. There's that cliche of, you know, happy team members make happy customers. We understood that, and it sounds kind of corny, but we really believed in that philosophy. So as we were, about this time, we actually shifted the terminology from employees, and we started calling our people team members. We wanted to create a team environment, and actually we realized that this goes back to the founding of our company. Nicholas and Company means and the people. The company is the people. So really focusing on that emphasis, focusing on the importance of our team members, and really, again, sort of closing the loop and helping our team members understand that in this family business, this started from the very beginning, the importance of focusing on our team members and recognizing that we don't do this alone. This focus on our culture and the environment, it served us well for a long period of time. And then as the business climate changed, and what we started to see was our sister companies who had been in business much longer than us across the country, whom we admired and respected and loved dearly. We started seeing them one after the other start going out of business, start selling, for a variety of reasons. In some cases, they didn't have a next generation to pass on the business to. In some cases, the next generation wasn't interested in the business or wasn't competent enough to take it to the next level. And in many cases, the reality was that the owners did not simply want to keep investing into this business. We have a very capitally intensive, expensive business to operate. When you see our trucks rolling down the road, anybody here see our trucks driving down the freeway? Hopefully they're behaving themselves. That is not just a truck rolling down the road. That's a house. Those are almost $300,000 all in, rolling down the roads. It's a rolling house. Our forklifts are about $70,000 a piece. Our pallet jacks are about $40,000 a piece. So it's very expensive to run this business. You add to that the facility itself and the requirements of having 7 different temperature zones and a ripening room and refrigerated docks and things like that. Back in that time period of the second generation running the business, not very many people wanted to continue investing that much in the business. So at a time when my father-in-law and mother-in-law could have very easily cashed in the chips, could have sailed away into the sunset, they believed in the legacy of this business. They wanted to pass the business along to the next generation, and they knew the only way that they could do that was to keep reinvesting in themselves and in the business. Luckily for us, we learned from them, and we listened to them, and we adopted the same philosophy and the same strategy. And I do believe that is what saved us in the second generation and helped us to not be a casualty back then. So unfortunately, in Y2K, I know a lot of the students in the room here are probably too young to remember, but when we were about to hit the year 2000, we had this Y2K scare. Everybody was worried that all the computer systems would just shut down, and so we were all in preparation for Y2K, and we went through a system conversion. We bit off more than we could chew, for sure, during that time frame. And as Peter sort of alluded to, we had a general manager who was in place at the time who didn't necessarily share our core values. Keeping in mind that at the time, we hadn't really done a good job of defining what those core values were. We didn't do a good job at the time of really articulating and reinforcing to our people how important it was to live the principles that you believe in. So about this time, our business was in serious trouble, and Peter mentioned that it was at this time that he stepped in to become the president. Not because he was ready, he certainly wasn't ready, but because he had to. And so we took on the challenge full force. We were very nervous, obviously, worried that this was all going to be on us to save this generation. And again, we went back to the notion that all we could do was be ourselves, be authentic, be ourselves, continue to treat our people in the right way, and that's how we were going to be successful, because we knew we couldn't do it alone. It had to be with the help of our people. So we clamped down on our expenses, we buttoned down the hatch, and honestly, through the grace of God and the wonderful partnerships that we have with suppliers, vendors, customers, and our team members, we forged ahead and we were able to thrive. So about this time, ironically, as it's the worst time in the history of our company financially, it was about this time that we started getting recognized for best places to work for in the state of Utah. And in the beginning, I can tell you, I don't think that we were worthy of that award. But receiving an award like that, what it does is it absolutely reinforces your commitment to be one of the best companies to work for. So I'm telling you that similar to this award here today on business ethics, to be able to formalize and to continue focus on what's important, your core values, the integrity, meeting the needs of your people, is very important to us. One of the things that I'm the most proud of during these dark days, as we called them back in the early 2000s, even when we were in having difficult financial times, one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that we were still able to continue to focus on our people. We had lots of meetings and surveys asking our people, how we could better meet their needs. And in many cases, we didn't have a lot of money, so we would be creative, think out of the box about what kinds of low-cost, no-cost benefits could we put in place that were going to be meaningful for our people. We had meetings after we conducted surveys to make sure we got it right. And to this day, we actually have a process called You Asked, We Did. So we summarize at the end of the year all the things, or many of the things that our team members have asked us or told us were important to them. And then at the end of the year, we're able to just push that back out in communication by saying, you asked us for these things, you told us these things were important to you, and here's what we were able to do. And so that sort of closes the loop in terms of communication, and I think continues to reinforce to our team members, we are listening to you, what you say does matter, and we are trying to act accordingly as your leaders. So several years ago, one of my colleagues who actually helped to create the best companies to work for award in Utah. She had previously worked for the Forbes magazine award. Her name is Pam Ballo, and she came to me and she said, Nicole, I've been watching your company for the last 10 years. I've been watching your growth. I've been watching the struggles. I've been watching who you are as an organization. And I have to tell you, you guys don't do a very good job of telling your story. You walk into your facility and it feels markedly different. You have your mission statement that's on the wall. At the time, our mission statement was an acronym called PRIDE, and it stood for Providing Responsive, Innovative Distribution Excellence. And she said, that's fine, but that could be any distribution company in any industry across America. It doesn't really say who you are as Nicholas & Company, where you are now and where you're headed. And she said, I think you should actually look to revise your mission statement. And of course, immediately I said, oh my gosh, I can't do that. My father-in-law created that. That would be sacrilegious, and we're not even having any further discussion. But something about our conversation sort of resonated with me, and I started, thinking about it, mulling it over, and then I started to do some research. And one of the things that I found is that companies who have been in business for a long time, that not only is it common to revise your business statement, or your mission statement, but it's necessary. So you think about a company like Coca-Cola, for example, which was created in some pharmacy many, many years ago as a hangover cure, right? Back then, they didn't have the mission statement of refreshing the world one sip at a time. It wasn't a global organization then. It is now, so that tagline sort of helps us understand and helps them as a company articulate who they are and where they're heading. I started to see the wisdom in this, and so we began an initiative to revise our mission statement, our vision statement, and what we now call our passion. We went through this incredible process where we had brainstorming sessions, and we had a blog that was up, and we started asking and soliciting feedback from our team members, from our customers, from our community partners. And we said, please tell us, when you think of Nicholas & Company, who are we? What does Nicholas & Company mean to you? What we're trying to articulate is that special it. What is that it? When people walk in the door and they say, it feels different here. What is it? So this process, by the way, was painful. It took, I would say, close to a year. Peter and I would go through these brainstorming sessions, and we had big, huge yellow Post-it notes that were, all over the walls, and we would bring them home, and we would look at the words that people would write when they said, this is what Nicholas & Company means. By the way, we had our team members' children chime in on this too, and I actually loved seeing their comments more than anything. From a child's perspective, Nicholas & Company means security to my dad. Nicholas & Company means, I'm treated special. Nicholas & Company means, food for everyone. Things like that that really make you understand and reinforce that what you're doing is important and that you're touching a lot of lives beyond just the people that you work with every single day. So we went through this process, and what we came up with is what you see on the screen right now, our MVP, our mission, our vision, and our passion. And the end result I'm very proud of. I feel like we did get it right. Preserving our family recipe for success by securing the dreams of all future generations. Very different from pride, right? A lot more specific. The family is a nod to the fact that we're a family business. The recipe in the mission statement, a nod to our industry. And the words referring to all future generations reinforce the fact that this is a legacy for us and must continue on from this generation to the next. So we're making business decisions not just for today, but for a legacy, long-term business decisions. Our vision statement, to be one with our partners in mutual success. Very important and very deliberate to add the word mutual. As we started growing our business, as we moved out of the viaduct into the facility that we're in now, as we started becoming a bigger organization, as we started getting better resources, better technology, more talented team members, we realized that we needed to reinforce the partnership piece and that relationships go two ways. So it's not enough for just us to do our part. We have to reinforce. Our team members have to come every day to work with their A game. Our community partners, our vendors, suppliers, we're all in this together. We can't be successful unless we're all in this together. So this long-term value of creating meaningful relationships for life is something that's very, very, very important to us. And we believe we can accomplish this through our passion, which very simply, there's this acronym up there for passion, stands for people, accountability, servant leadership, safety, integrity, opportunities, and of course we're passionate about Nicholas & Company. But the underlying theme of what we're passionate about is that we're an organization about people serving other people. So this MVP now articulates exactly who we are. It couldn't be any other industry. It couldn't be any other organization. It couldn't even be any other food service distribution company. This is our DNA. This MVP is who we are. And it is very much seen in what we call our secret sauce in our mission. The secret ingredient in our mission statement, is a word called Philotimo. I'm going to show you a little video that gives a better explanation.
It's hard to think of a word more packed with meaning, more packed with positive values than Philotimo. It's a perfect word.
Philotimo. I'd actually say uniquely Greek concept.
It seemed to sum up the best of the Greek character.
It's a word that describes a way of life.
Philotimia. It's a sense of how people feel towards humanity, fellow humans.
The Greek spirit of doing what's right and what's honorable, even when one's own interests and maybe even one's own life are placed in peril.
Whether it means you're going to earn less money, or whether it means that not everybody is going to love you. Philotimo means you're doing it based on your whole sense of duty.
I believe Philotimo is the most unique word that a human being has to express himself.
The ancient Greeks were smart enough to come up with a word that described things that are subtle, that have nuances.
It's not very easily translatable unless you bring together many different elements.
Duty,
honor, courage,
personal sacrifice, higher calling,
taking pride in their work,
compassion and generosity.
It's about honor, it's also about knowledge.
A duty to do what is right.
To rise above pettiness and trivialities.
Human kindness, empathy.
Humility and pride, love of family, love of country.
To think about those that maybe haven't been quite as fortunate.
It is within the DNA of Greeks, and I think of humanity overall. But it's something which has to be inspired.
Most of us, and certainly in my case, I try to live up to the word as often as I can in my life.
To live not just for yourself, but for something larger than yourself.
All of these things embody not only the classical ideals of the Greek people, but some of the attributes of the modern Greeks, including Greek Americans.
If we live by these values, we will do well and thrive.
So that video was created just recently within the last year, and we put Philotimo out to the public and obviously internally to our people as the secret ingredient in our recipe for success probably about 5 years ago. So it's exciting to see that other people have picked up on how important this word is, and it really does. There's no English translation for the word, so we had to come up with our own definition. You heard people talk about what they thought the meaning of the word Philotimo was, but really that love of honor, the sense of understanding that we're here with one another to make things better for one another. We have an obligation to one another to make things better, to do the right thing. It's kind of a sense of nobility that I think is enshrined in the Greek culture, but certainly it is within our organization as well. And so we're very proud. When we first actually started thinking about using the word Philotimo in our mission, our vision, and our passion, we resisted this because we thought it sounded too weird, too Greek, too hard to say. Nobody would understand it, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this really is who we are. So I'm going to actually ask you guys, I know saying oppa was kind of easy, right? I'm going to ask you to get a little more Greek right now, and we do have some Greek team members who are in the audience also. So again, you guys have got to represent and say Philotimo really, really, really loud and help everybody else out, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Philotimo. Very good. You guys are all Greek now. So we are very proud of the end result here, and the thing that I'm the most proud of with our mission, vision, and passion was not just getting through the process and how incredible that was, not just having this end result of this mission, vision, passion, but the fact that these are not just words that hang on our wall. The mission, vision, passion are actually tenets by which we make daily business decisions. They are meaningful because when we're up against some sort of a business decision or problem, we can look at our mission, vision, and our passion and ask ourselves whether or not there's alignment. And that's critically important, not just for us, but for our team members. We have almost 600 team members now. We can't be everywhere in every place at every time. So the only way that we continue to be successful, the only way that we continue to grow our culture and reinforce our culture is through our leadership team, through our team members. So to be able to have these core values articulated, to be able to have our team members understand how important this is, that their behavior determines, in fact, and continues to determine our culture, is critical. I'm proud of that. So Peter and I get asked very often, what is the secret to your success? First of all, I don't think that we have arrived. We have a lot of learning to do. We are still in learning mode to this very day, and we will continue to be lifelong learners. I think that when you think about family business statistics, they're pretty grim. You look at the fact that family businesses still are the backbone of the American economy, but when you start looking at the statistics of passing from one generation to the second generation, only about 30% pass to the second generation, only about 12% pass to the third generation, and less than 3% of family business make it to the fourth generation and beyond. Why is family business important? It's important because, again, the backbone of American economics is centered around family business. But also, family business is important because I think that from a perspective of taking care of people, family businesses are known to take care of people, to have less layoffs, even in times of downward prosperity, even in times of hard financial times. Family businesses take care of their people. Majority of family businesses also believe that their ethical standards are more stringent than that of their competition. We certainly believe that at Nicholas & Company, and we report on ethical issues in our board meetings with our team members, in discussions with other people. We talk about this a lot, the importance of character, the importance of integrity, the importance of our core values. And why is that? Well, for us, there's no question that the reason that that's important to us is that it's our reputation. Peter mentioned this before, all you have is your name. Well, now that we're in the third generation, we realize it's not even just about us anymore. It's about this legacy, and it's about continuing on the legacy of keeping our good family name. So here we are in 2015, and again, we continue to have life lessons every single day. You heard a little bit about the struggles that we've had before. We continue to have struggles. In the last 18 months, our company has gone through a very taxing period of time of rapid growth. Associated with that growth, we've done a new ERP implementation we're still in the middle of right now. We built a new facility in Las Vegas. All of that is exciting because it long-term is going to be good for our business and for our people and create more opportunities for our team members, but it's very, very taxing. Within just the last year, we actually have had to make some decisions to part ways with some team members who have not shared our core values. I'll tell you, one of the things that Peter and I have learned along the way that's critically important is surrounding yourself with good people. We have an incredible team who tells us the truth, an incredible team who is not afraid to be honest with us, and in certain cases over the last year and a half or so, they were sort of beating the drum and telling us that we had some problems with people in our organization. We didn't listen. And I stand here before you telling you that, again, we continue to learn every single day. What we have learned from that lesson of not listening to our people is that it's never too late to do the right thing. It's never too late to continue focusing on your values and what's important to you. And it's certainly never too late to own the decisions that you've made. But the most important thing about learning from your mistakes, any kind of setback, any kind of failure, if you can find a learning opportunity in that, you have been successful, because that is what will carry you forward into the future. So as I think about our story, I wanted to sort of summarize by saying there's some themes and lessons that I think you can learn from our story. In no particular order, the first one is believe in yourself, bet on yourself, and keep investing in yourself. Most importantly, be yourself. That authenticity translates into credibility and loyalty with your team members. The second thing is follow the advice and emulate good people who are role models around you, whether that's parents, whether that's leaders, whether that's professors, teachers, whether it's mentors, coworkers. And if you don't have anybody around you who's a good role model, go find a good role model, or two, or three. It's important to surround yourself with good people. Follow your passion, understand your purpose, and honor your purpose. Continue to invest in yourself. Decide to be a lifelong learner. I went back to school to get my master's degree 5 years ago, not because the timing was great, because our children were little at the time. More than anything, it was to be better for our team members. I knew that we were growing, and I knew that I had a responsibility to our team members to continue being better for them. The other thing that I hoped would happen is that I would lead by example and show our team members that it's never too late to keep learning. It's never too late to go back to school. So keep investing in yourself. As a leader, people are watching you. People are watching whether you walk the talk. And influence is not gained by title alone. We have a daughter who's now in 5th grade, and we switched schools for her when she was in 2nd grade. And she is, of course I'm biased because I'm her mother. She's darling, she's magnetic, she's got a wonderfully charming personality. And so she was nervous when she first started her new school, but immediately kids were drawn to her. And one of the most powerful things that could have ever happened in her life was that she had this fabulous 2nd grade teacher who told her on many occasions, you have power. People want to be around you. Power feels good, but you need to learn the lesson right now that you can use your power for good or you can use your power for bad. So what an incredible gift this teacher gave my daughter in 2nd grade to learn the power of influence and to learn how important it is to use that influence for good. I'm grateful to this teacher eternally. The last and final thing that I wanted to share with you that I think is a theme here is that the golden rule, treat other people as you would want to be treated yourself, is timeless. This basic principle of humanity we all have to discover what it means to be a good person, what we owe to strangers and other people in our lives. How do we treat other people? We all have that question, and it's important for us to answer it for ourselves. People are not necessarily going to remember what you did, what you said to them, but they will absolutely remember how you made them feel. I think no matter how rich, how smart, how talented, how successful you think you are, the most important thing and all that matters is really how you treat other people. So having said that, I'd like to bring Peter back up here. And I'd like to close by sharing with you a Chinese proverb that you may have already heard. I think this reinforces the notion that your character is a choice. So the proverb says, "Be careful of your thoughts, for your thoughts become your words. Be careful of your words, for your words become your actions. Be careful of your actions, for your actions become your habits. Be careful of your habits, for your habits become your character. Be careful of your character, for your character becomes your destiny." Thank you.
Thank you very much.